Today, Goldman Sachs asking employees to disclose whether they got the vaccine or not. The bank says it's so they can plan the return to the office. Baltimore business owners give the city an ultimatum. Either get it together and address the crime, or forget about collecting taxes. And inflation hits a 13-year high. How bad could it get, and could we see 1970s-style stagflation? And much more, coming up on NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. Goldman Sachs is working on a plan to return to the office after lockdowns, and it wants employees' vaccination status before they return. It wants to know the brand of vaccine and the date they got it, but is not asking for proof. Employees had until noon today to notify the bank. It is apparently legal for employers to ask workers about vaccination status as long as they keep the information private. Up till now, the bank didn't require workers to tell their status. A recent memo, though, says the company strongly advises employees to get vaccinated, but it also knows it's a personal choice. It didn't say if non-vaccinated workers would be treated differently. And Facebook's CEO wants workers to stay at home. He says he's been happier at home and more productive because he spent more time with his family and has been able to think longer term. Zuckerberg plans to work remotely until at least the second half of next year. He's telling employees to do the same. The company is allowing all employees to apply for remote work if their role allows it. Zuckerberg has previously said he wants at least half his workforce to be entirely remote within the next 10 years. Twitter and Google are allowing employees to work remotely indefinitely, but Apple and Uber plan to bring people back to the office several days a week. And dozens of Baltimore business owners are fed up with rising crime. Now they're planning to withhold city taxes until the mayor and some city officials do more to stop the violence. NTD's Phil Zoe spoke to one of the business owners.
In Fells Point, Baltimore, a group of business owners are fed up and frustrated with the gun violence and chaos taking place in their quiet city. They wrote a letter to the mayor demanding basic services such as picking up trash and stopping illegal open-air alcohol and drug use. And lastly, to allow the police to responsibly do their job. On the last page, you see a list of up to 37 business owners joining this effort. And if the city does not comply, these businesses are ready to withhold their taxes.
We should all be outraged that we don't have these basic services from our city.
Over the weekend, 3 people were shot in the historic and popular neighborhood. We spoke to business owner Claudia Toes. Her toy store has been family-owned and operated for nearly 20 years.
Open-air markets of alcohol being sold out of coolers and drug markets, and it has been going on, and it is continuously getting worse because there is no deterrent.
She says there are large gatherings of people late into the midnight hours. The mayor's office said he shares the business owners' frustrations over the violence.
We need leadership and we need City Hall to pay attention. And it's something that they can fix. It's something that they can work on. It's something that they can collaborate on.
The mayor is planning a virtual town hall meeting Thursday night to address the business owners' concerns. Phil Zoe, NTD News.
And after a decades-long battle, the Keystone XL pipeline, set to carry oil between Canada and the United States, is officially cancelled. The sponsor is giving up on the multi-billion-dollar project. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the details.
The Keystone XL pipeline project is officially cancelled. The sponsor said Wednesday it's pulling the plug after Canadian officials failed to convince President Biden to reinstate the permit. The Canadian company TC Energy says it will work with government agencies to ensure a safe termination and exit from the partially built line. Building on the 1,200-mile US-Canada pipeline began last year, and it came with a $9 billion price tag.
I am pleased to announce the official approval of the presidential permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. TransCanada will finally be allowed to complete this long overdue project with efficiency and with speed.
That was after former President Obama stalled the project in 2015.
The State Department has decided that the Keystone XL pipeline would not serve the national interests of the United States. I agree with that decision.
The pipeline would have moved up to 830,000 barrels of crude daily. That's 35 million gallons, and it would have connected Nebraska to other pipelines that feed oil refineries on the U.S. Gulf Coast. Biden cancelled the project over environmental concerns. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau objected to the move, but officials in Alberta, where the line originated, expressed disappointment recently that he didn't lobby harder to save the project. Alberta invested more than $1 billion in the project last year. Environmentalists and some Native American groups have opposed the project since it was announced in 2008. TC Energy and Alberta are planning to recoup the government's investment, although no details have been disclosed yet. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And the China-owned social media app TikTok might finally be sharing its sought-after secret sauce algorithm. But one expert says companies might want to hold back their excitement, at least for now. Here's NTD's Evelyn Lee with more.
Is TikTok revealing its secret? Biden just revoked a Trump-era executive order that bans TikTok Wednesday. Now, one day later, parent company ByteDance plans to offer TikTok's secret algorithm to more corporate clients through the Volcano engine brand. But the CEO of Open Influence says companies should hold back their excitement for now.
Right, this could be, a way for them to, more deeply, place a bet in the cloud computing world and build out that business. It could be them just looking to sort of build more hooks and more integrations. It's very tough to tell at this point.
TikTok's secret weapon keeps users glued to their screens through personalized recommendations. The algorithm was also one of the focal points when China's ByteDance was forced into talks to sell part of TikTok's U.S. operations last year. At that time, China quickly revised its export restrictions on artificial intelligence technology. That meant the divestment got more complicated. Bidders for TikTok were unsure whether the app's algorithm would be part of the deal. There is a growing urgency among both Democrat and Republican officials to counter a growing threat by China's military. Last year, a U.S. campaign caught a growing group of Chinese government officials and business people, among others, that pursued American secrets. ByteDance said Thursday that Volcano Engine offers recommendation algorithm, data analysis, and artificial intelligence. And while it's a secret sauce for TikTok, it won't necessarily be one for other social media platforms.
That algorithm has been so successful on TikTok itself, but the question is, where else can it be applied? And really, what's that difference going to be from what other social platforms could develop on their own as well?
ByteDance says Volcano Engine has already been operating for a year. It has corporate clients like e-commerce giant JD.com, smartphone maker Vivo, and automaker Geely. It also plans to add public cloud computing services. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And after the GameStop Wall Street bets pandemonium earlier this year, we can take a look at the company's first quarter earnings. They're not doing too badly, but whether they'll survive in the long term is the question. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has more.
GameStop's first quarter results are complicated. Revenue surged 25% year over year to $1.3 billion, largely because of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S.
I'm very proud of what we have accomplished over the past 2 years, including navigating the pandemic and positioning the company with strong liquidity and an improved platform for growth.
But sales of actual games fell 5% year over year. This comes at a time when people buy games online, not in a physical store.
And when they download them, they don't download them from GameStop. They download them from Xbox Live, they download them from PlayStation Network, they download them from Steam.
GameStop seems to be aware of this. They're getting a new CEO and CFO, both former Amazon executives, and making the co-founder of successful e-commerce firm Chewy the new chairman.
They're planning a turnaround. And I think what they're signaling is that they're going to transition to online commerce and online markets. So I think the hires are very important. They're trying to signal to the markets that they can actually turn around this company.
This as the SEC investigates trading activity in GameStop shares. GameStop is reviewing the request, adding that the inquiry is not expected to adversely impact the company. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And Verizon has just launched private 5G for businesses and government departments. That means businesses won't have to compete for speed on public networks anymore. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the details.
Verizon launched its first commercial available private 5G network Thursday in the US. It will offer businesses and government departments high-speed indoor or outdoor connectivity. Private 5G means businesses won't have to compete with public users to get the best coverage, and there are other benefits as well.
With the advent of 5G, there is the possibility to have these private networks with the benefit that the companies can have their own network with a technology that is much more powerful in terms of bandwidth, low latency, but also more secure because it inherits the security that is typical of mobile networks.
Granelli says a lot more 5G networks will be popping up soon.
Especially in China, that you know is very active in 5G technology, but also in Europe. I'm aware that in Germany, for example, big companies such as BMW, Mercedes, they are already thinking to deploy their own 5G private networks in what they call campus networks.
Private 5G networks won't hold you back if you want to carry out intensive tasks like computer vision, augmented reality, and machine learning to increase productivity, with network speeds of up to 5 gigabytes per second. Verizon trialed the private 5G with some customers and is partnering with Microsoft and Amazon. It's also working with Corning, WeWork, Tyndall Air Force Base and Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. That's the one where iconic film Top Gun was filmed. Verizon is reportedly seeing lots of demand for its new service from financial institutions and warehouses controlled by robots and autonomous vehicles. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And stocks closed higher Thursday. The S&P 500 hit a record closing high and out of the red for the week. Gained about 20 points, about 0.5%. Dow edged up 19 points, less than 0.1%. The Nasdaq rose 109 points, nearly 0.8% today. The Labor Department says fewer Americans filed for jobless benefits again last week. That's a 6th straight weekly drop. Bond yields mostly fell despite a big jump in inflation last month. More on that very soon. 10-year Treasury fell to 1.44%. Gold and oil both up a little bit today as well. Home values have increased a lot this year. If you're a homeowner with mortgages, your equity could be up 20% from the same time last year. That means each borrower gained an average of over $33,000. That's a total of about $2 trillion for all borrowers. Home prices are up 13% in April from last year. Last year's record low mortgage rates helped propel the buying frenzy that led to the price gains. Mortgages represent about 62% of properties overall. CoreLogic says the average homeowner now has about $216,000 in equity. Those with negative equity decreased by 7% from the end of 2020 to the first quarter of 2021. The cost of living soared again in May, pushing the inflation rate to a 13-year high. U.S. Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is up 5% compared to a year ago. There are differing opinions on what's behind the rising prices. Some say supply chain issues are pushing up costs for producers who are then passing those costs on to consumers. But some economists say that even materials not facing supply chain problems are more expensive. Others say simply because inflation was lower last year during lockdowns, this year's readings will inevitably be higher. This is called the base effect. But others say low interest rates and unprecedented levels of money printing by the central bank and government over the past year has devalued the dollar, as more money is now chasing after the same basket of goods. In the late 1970s, the U.S. saw a period of stagnant growth and inflation, aka stagflation. Many experts on this show have shared just how tough it was for the American people back then. Official inflation hit 12% at one point. So, how similar is today to back then? How bad could it get? Asked veteran economist Joe Carson, he spent 16 years as the chief economist at the investment firm Allianz Bernstein. I asked him if he feels this is a little bit like the beginning of stagflation.
Well, that's a good point, because if you go back and look at the last 3 or 4 business cycles since 1980, when you came out of those cycles, inflation decelerated, profit margins increased, wages decelerated. But in the 70s, the opposite occurred. Inflation expectations were up, wages increased immediately, and it all had to do with monetary policy being too accommodative And the common theme there is that there was an increased demand for workers and a shortage of workers, as well as products and everything else. So a lot of this has more similarities to the 70s than the 80s and the 90s.
What do you feel might change or what mightn't change when it comes to monetary policy? What are you expecting might happen?
Well, that's a good question, because the current generation of policymakers first have to acknowledge that there's an inflation problem. Right? And second, then they have to know how to deal with it. If you go back and look at all inflation cycles, they've been broken by a significant tightening of monetary policy. It took Greenspan and Volcker a decade to break the 70s inflation cycle, and it took Greenspan 12 months back in 1994 to suppress a potential inflation cycle. So the Fed is so far behind the curve right now. It's going to take a long time for them to even get to a neutral policy, let alone a tight policy. And in the meantime, I think they can cause a lot of problems in the financial markets and the economy.
Well, considering this and considering the extreme lengths that Jerome Powell's predecessors had to go to tame the inflation, why do you think the Fed aren't taking it more seriously, at least on the surface?
Good question. You know, they believe that they've been undershooting inflation for a decade. I think they're mistaken in those views because the measurement of inflations have changed so much, they're not actually capturing actual prices. But beside that, they think they have to live up to their mandates. And the problem is they picked a price target that is meaningless. I mean, no one knows if they hit a 2% target every year, it's more by luck than by design. And if you include all prices, inflation has been running well above 2% for some time. So I think their approach is too academic. If they just look outside, they'll see a bigger inflation problem than what they see inside their house.
You had an interesting point in one of your recent writings where you noticed that there were jobs added last month. The jobs number added people back, but people tended to overlook that I believe the wages increased by 0.6%. Nobody had mentioned, you had mentioned that they had to up the wages to actually attract these people back. How significant is that from an inflation standpoint?
Oh, very significant. You know, sustaining the price cycle means you need the income flows or liquidity to pay the higher prices. So once you get that process moving, workers are going to understand that they can bid up their wages or they can move to higher paying jobs. Businesses know that they're going to have to compete more with other businesses for the shortage of labor. And that's why I thought was really interesting in last week's employment report. You know, I never thought the benchmark for a good or bad employment report is an economist's forecast, right? And yet, you know, people jump for joy, investors jump for joy because it was about 100,000 less than what economists predicted. But the wage component was 3 times greater. So businesses would say, look, it took us a lot to get these workers to come back to work for us, and they're going to have to do even more going forward to sustain this type of employment increase that they need.
Joe Carson. And a gold ATM has been launched in the Czech Republic. You can simply exchange cash for gold bars with it. It's reportedly the first one in Europe. Gold news website goldseat.com reports that the Czech company Gold Plus installed the machine in a shopping mall in Prague. Buying gold with the machine seems to be pretty simple. Just choose what size you want. There are 3 options, 1 gram, 10 grams, 31 grams. Then feed the machine with cash and it'll give you your gold bar. Prices seem to be pretty competitive too, compared to other stores in Prague at least. Gold Plus says it's also looking to add more machines in the future. And China is stepping up its crackdown in crypto. Authorities say police arrested over 1,100 people suspected of using crypto to launder money. The Chinese regime said they busted more than 170 groups involved in using crypto to launder money. It also says the money launderers helped to convert illegal proceeds from scams into crypto and charged up to a 5% fee. One industry group says they're seeing more crimes involving virtual currencies. Last month, 3 industry bodies banned crypto-related financial and payment services. Still to come this evening, Lego is launching a new set, an old-school typewriter. It even has keys and cartridges that move. Where did the idea come from? And Switzerland's deciding whether it'll ban artificial pesticides. Supporters say the products cause serious health problems, but many farmers feel their way of life is under siege. That and more after this short break.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Why are millions of Americans moving their money into gold and silver? It's simple. The world has never been more unpredictable. The biggest economic crisis we've faced since 2008, and a government that's about to print trillions and trillions of dollars. That's why so many Americans are turning to gold and silver to protect their nest egg. American Hartford Gold is a trusted name to help families to safeguard their wealth. With an A+ rating from the BBB and 5-star ratings on the biggest review websites like Trustpilot and Google, American Hartford Gold can help you convert any qualifying IRA or 401k into precious metals. Or they'll help you to easily purchase physical gold and silver and deliver straight to your doorstep. Learn how you can protect your wealth with gold and silver today. Get this free 2021 information guide. Call 866-893-1493 or text TV to 65532.
Welcome back. Barbie is going green. Mattel released a new line of Barbies made from plastic that would otherwise end up in oceans. The Barbie Loves the Ocean collection includes 3 dolls, a beach shack playset, and other accessories. The dolls and accessories are $9.99 each. The beach shack playset is $19.99. Mattel says they're made of 90% plastic recovered from within 30 miles of waterways and then recycled. The material will be sourced from areas in Mexico's Bahia Peninsula. The company says the new Barbies are in line with its commitment to using 100% recyclable or bio-based plastic materials across all its products and packaging by 2030. And the once trusty typewriter is really a relic of the past, but now it's making a comeback thanks to Lego. The legendary toy maker is launching a model of the old-school item that features moving keys and carriage. The set, which targets adult Lego builders, comes with nearly 2,100 pieces and is designed to copy the style and function of an actual typewriter. It was inspired by Steve Guinness, a Lego fan from Great Britain. He sent his idea to the company and his submission received more than 10,000 votes from fellow Lego fans. He'll also receive some of the profits earned from the sales. The Lego typewriter goes on sale this summer and will cost just under $200. And Switzerland could become the first European country to ban artificial pesticides. Backers say the artificial products are causing health problems. Kira Lee reports.
Switzerland could become the first European country to ban artificial pesticides. On June the 13th, a referendum will take place, and backers hope it will trigger similar moves elsewhere. They want the country to ban the use of products made by agrochemical giants such as Swiss firm Syngenta and Germany's Bayer and BASF. Campaigners say artificial products cause serious health problems and reduce biodiversity. But manufacturers insist their pesticides are rigorously regulated and that crop yields would slump without them. Another vote on the same day aims to improve the quality of Switzerland's drinking water and food. It would stop direct subsidies to farmers who use artificial pesticides and antibiotics in livestock. If adopted, the proposals give farmers up to 10 years to make the transition and would allow Switzerland to become a leader in organic food and drink production. Roland Lenz is a Swiss winemaker.
Our drink water will sometime in the future, 20 or 30 years, be pure again. Our soil would be fertile again, and we would have less dependence on foreign countries.
The Clean Water Initiative also wants farmers to stop using imported animal feed and restrict the number of cows, pigs and chickens in Switzerland. The Swiss Farmers Union says many of its members feel their way of life is under siege. Dominic Harb runs a dairy farm outside Zurich.
Our production would go rapidly down. We won't have any Swiss chicken meat, we won't have any Swiss pig meat, and the result would be there would be much more import, much more food would come from outside countries into Switzerland.
The country has been divided by the unusually bitter debate over the initiatives, and according to recent polls, the votes look set to be close.
We'll keep you updated. That's the latest business updates for today. You can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox, starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.